We are the tribe from the north, we're brave and we're bold. Defeating our rivals never gets old. Making our way to the Big Sky Conference. Watch out, 'cause here comes the silver and gold. Whoa, whoa. This is Tubbs at the Club for the Vandals of Idaho.
Welcome back, Tribe from the North, brave and bold, to the official, unofficial podcast of your Idaho Vandals and the Vandal affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chris Hammond, and with me today, I have the Professor Brian Marceau. How are you doing, Brian?
We finally got a football game to talk about, man, so I'm doing fantastic.
And Alex the Boatman.
Cheers.
And running the show from the shadows, Producer Dammer. How are you today, Dallas Hammer?
Mathew Stafford has been my quarterback for a week now, so I am on top of the world.
And for those of you watching us live on YouTube, welcome. Patrick, we see you already in the comment section. Appreciate the support as always. For those of you catching us tomorrow, because we're not going live on Tuesday on the podcast forum, we appreciate you guys still keeping this podcast a podcast. But what's going on? Boatman was telling us before we went on air something about Pro Football Talk simulators.
Yeah, Pro Football Focus free draft simulator. I was put onto it by Coach Lloyd Hightower. He's a big Ravens fan, and I'm a big Steelers fan. So I've spent the last hour and a half trying to figure out how in the hell the Steelers can get Najee Harris somehow in the second round, and that's been my whole focus.
So what
Pro
round?
Football Focus draft simulator. Just Google it. Select your team, select randomness. You'll spend hours because I think the draft's next month, right? Am I right in saying that?
End of April,
wow.
I believe.
Yeah.
End of
so
April.
my question is, what round are you taking Christian Ellison? Are you letting us keep him for the fall?
I'm letting us. We got to hold on to that for as long as we can. All right, we're trying to make the playoffs here. Okay, we do that. Keep numero uno in Moscow as long as possible.
Yeah. Yep.
You take him over Jake Constantine?
You do a trade up to where you get back-to-back picks in the first round, and you go 1 and 2.
I mean, I'm taking Jake Constantine as fast as possible, and it would not be a Tubbs of Club show without mentioning Jake Constantine in the first 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, he is the number one draft pick in the developmental league for the XFL. All right. Oh, we want to thank our sponsor, as always, Montucky Cold Snacks. Ain't nothing like cracking a Montucky Cold Snack. Ultra refreshing light beer born in majestic Big Sky country. Best part is when you crack a snack, you're giving back. Montucky Cold Snacks donates 8% of all profits back to local causes, even right here in Idaho. Supporting organizations like the CW Hogs and the Idaho Food Bank. Yeehaw, that's freaking awesome. Montucky Cold Snacks, light American lager for pow pow rippers, gator anglers, pony riders, and badass do-gooders. Visit MontuckyColdSnacks.com today to find out how to get some snacks around the bar. Brought to you by Hughes River Expeditions. Idaho playing Southern Utah for our senior night in the Dome. Last home game of the year. Last meeting was October 20th, 2018, which is actually just like, no, it was 2 seasons ago. We won 31-12. That was the year after Southern Utah looked pretty good. So, we'll see. Southern Utah is 1-2 currently. As I like to famously say, they're 8 seconds away from being 3-0. They had 2 last-second losses, one to NAU on a walk-off touchdown, literally 0-0-0 touchdown pass by Keandre Woodty, and then Idaho State, a game-winning field goal. So the Thunderbirds, frisky, surging, whatever the favorite BSPN take is on the T-Birds, that's what they are. Any thoughts from the team here, Brian? I know you're a huge T-Birds fan.
I think the Thunderbirds are really kind of a Rorschach test of how you feel about this season, because I know we used to joke about them, losing to NAU, who looks terrible, and then losing to Idaho State. But then when Idaho State hung with Eastern Washington, I feel like I think that colored a little bit differently how we look at what Southern Utah is. And they did beat Cal Poly, only by 10, but they were, of course, in control that game early. They didn't put the UC Davis 78 or 79, whatever that was, on him. But Southern Utah certainly controlled the Cal Poly game. So now I'm left here thinking, I still don't know how to sort Southern Utah. I think maybe they're the best of the bad teams, which means it's important for Idaho to beat them. But this was a game 3 weeks ago I would have picked Idaho to walk away with, and I think there's a good chance, Chris, that this is a pretty close game.
Yeah, Boatman, what are your takes on the T-Birds?
I mean, they're hard to read. I do still think we do see the disparity 1 through 4, 5 through 8 in this conference. And after seeing what UC Davis just did to Cal Poly, makes me realize how big that disparity is. I mean, Idaho's defense let up a lot of yards, but man, we didn't let 70 something get dropped on us, right? That UC Davis offense did to Cal Poly, and Cal Poly, Southern Utah. That official 1-score game was like a 10-point game. It's not like
12.
It's not like Southern Utah blew them out, right?
Well, they let them crawl back into it, but they were blowing them out. It was like 31-10 at halftime or something.
I mean, I still think we should rightly be favored, and this is a game that Idaho should win, right? It's not like it's I don't think it's going to be a gimme. I still think NAU and Cal Poly may be the worst teams in the conference. But yeah, I don't know. I still think we should win, right? The Southern Utah team's kind of hard to get a read on. I think people are really surprised Idaho State kind of put that such a fight to Eastern. I think that's more indicative on, shows you where Eastern's at than it does, and where Idaho State's maybe not as bad as we thought. And people ranking Eastern at 11th in the country, I think, are way off too. So
yeah,
right.
I agree with that.
So
the polls this year have been,
they're insane.
For the most part. I think it's because there's just not a lot of teams, so there's like too much movement. I don't want to get on a whole tangent, but yeah, the polls been a mess all year. Monmouth was in it to this week, and they still hadn't played a game.
Right.
What a weird year. But
dude, a couple of things really quick though with SU. I mean, this is just to buttress our points of SU is a weird team to read. They are just dead center in the Big Sky right now with a decent amount of their stats. If you look at their scoring offense, they're number 4. Scoring defense, they're number 5. Total offense, number 5. Total defense, number 3. So a slight move, but a ton of the big stats that we would look at to try to purse out who's good or who's strong in what ways. Southern Utah is just kind of dead center in almost everything, and you can't write out that Idaho's objectively played a way tougher schedule than Southern Utah has right now. But Southern Utah also look, they like Chris says, they could easily be 3-0, but they're also not 3-0, and they're all their losses were close games against two of the teams we shouldn't think that highly of. But I really think of Southern Utah as the best bad team right now, which is part of why I think this game is going to be way more important for Idaho now than I thought it would have been week 1.
Yeah. Dallas, what are your takes on the T-Birds?
So I'm kind of in the middle of writing the big damn preview for this week, and this is a matchup nightmare for Idaho. This team scares me. I do think they are the best of the bad teams in the conference, and I don't think they're better than Idaho, but the matchup scares me. Justin Miller and their passing offense has been pretty outstanding. They have a handful of receivers with double-digit receptions. One guy's got 9 receptions, but 5 touchdowns. They throw the ball pretty well. Defensively, they lead the league in sacks. And the two things that Idaho, I would say, is weakest with is the offensive line and the secondary. And if we're going to go up against a team that admittedly has put up numbers against some of the worst teams in the conference, that's kind of nerve-wracking for me. Just looking at it, doing initial research, this isn't a great matchup for Idaho.
Yeah, which you kind of great transition for the rest of us into our next point. Southern Utah, are they going to be a threat or a doormat, Brian Marcel?
Man, I just wish this was a simpler time before we played a single game when we could just laugh about SUU and say, like, yeah, they're going to the WAC. We don't care about them.
Remember we're in their consensus bottom in the power rankings almost?
Yeah, dude, fast forward to now.
Right.
Southern Utah wins the Big Sky in basketball, and they have, a quarterback who, to me, hey, spoiler alert, I picked Justin Miller as the best new quarterback we've seen so far. 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, 72% completion percentage. But I'm not going to call him a doormat. So I guess I'm going to call him a threat. Not a threat to win the league, but they are certainly a threat to ruin someone's playoff chances, i.e. us, which I'm not trying to jump to the picks yet. But if there's Chris, you called UC Davis as your game Idaho is going to have a weak outing against. I'm kind of freaked out about this SU game now because SU's look good, again, against teams. But everyone knows we don't know what to expect out of Idaho because we just had COVID run through the program. So we don't know what we're going to be missing. And SUU certainly hasn't had that happen. So are they a doormat? No, not this season. They're not a doormat. I'm going to call them a threat to upset someone's season early.
Bowman?
I think they could be a threat. I think it could be a threat. And if I had to guess, it's so tough. I remember the last time we did play them in the Dome in 2018. We killed them, right? That was one of our few games we put up a lot of points and we didn't give up a whole lot.
Homecoming.
And that game could was that homecoming that year? That could be exactly the same thing that we could see this weekend, right? Like it's not out of my mind in terms of the realm of possibility. Cade Coffey an 80-yard punt in that game, or I felt like 80 yards because I was dead when I got back to the sideline. I think they could be a threat, but I also do think the last time we saw this Idaho team, they left the field disappointed, right? I would, and usually an Idaho disappointment game is usually an Idaho big win is sometimes followed with an Idaho disappointment game, which is then followed right back by getting on a win streak and taking care of someone we should take care of. So that seems pretty well within the realm of possibility for this Vandal team. And maybe, even though we had COVID issues and we haven't played, it could have kind of allowed some guys to maybe take a step back and let coaches take a step back. And sometimes when you're in those week-to-week battles, you just kind of lose sight of a bigger picture and you kind of might not get a focus on some things. The Paul Petrino I know spent 2 weeks probably watching every single snap 3 times over from our last 2 games, figuring out what we did wrong, how we can change it, and also probably watching every single snap from every Southern Utah game so far this season, and figuring out how to beat them. So I think we could use these last 2 weeks as a way for us to maybe make some improvements and kind of look at what we had wrong. So yeah, it could be a threat, but I actually kind of like us to get a good bounce back this week.
Yeah. So I was listening to I think Southern Utah's a threat. Regardless of what I'm about to say, I think the way they had played this year, I know it sounds like we're just doing this, so you guys stay tuned all the way to the end. But no, seriously, the team, I joke, but they are seriously 8 seconds away from being 3-0, and this conversation is completely different if it is. At the end of the day, they didn't. But if they did, if that pass against NAU was incomplete, if that field goal was missed by Idaho State, we're sitting here and going, well, they snuck by some teams, but at the same time, they're 3-0. They're tied with Weber for the conference title right now. And that's like the different mindset of like, but we could be having that conversation. Just like we could be having a conversation that Idaho's 2-0, right? But we're not.
Right.
So I think they're a team that you have to take serious. I think they're this year's team that came out of nowhere. Obviously, like honestly, going forward, whoever gets picked last in the Big Sky Power Rankings, it's on second year. Last year, it was consensus Sac State, and this year it was consensus Southern Utah. Like, Southern Utah not on pace to quite have Sac State, but I think most Southern Utah fans would be pretty ecstatic by how their team looks because we got some pushback from Sac people. We did not get any pushback from Southern Utah when we said they look like they're going to be bad this year. But the thing is, like, their offense as a whole is pretty dang good. We've already talked on Justin Miller. They've got, I think it's Dwayne Christensen and Jay Green Jr., 2 guys that kind of split the rock. Both do a very good job. They've got Landon Meesum and Brandon Shanks out at the wide receiver spots that are, 2 just totally full package guys. They're just that team that, like, Jay Green and Christensen are not the best 2. They're probably not the best 5. They're probably not the best 10. But they're probably somewhere between 11 and 15 running backs in the Big Sky right now. And they have both of them. Like, they're same with the wide receivers. They're not Hendricks Johnson. They're not Hayden Hatton. They're not Cottrell Haywood or Taylor Limu Jones, Andrew Boston. There's some other guys, Crawford for UC Davis. They're not those guys, but they're in the top 15, and they've got 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worried. And they've got their own very Trey Walker on their team. And hold on. I'm going to try this. Hano Davis, and his first name is Laike. I'm not going to any of the South Pacific anytime soon. But he's a linebacker who I think leads the league in sacks right now. Also has 2 carries for them on offense. Like he's their Trey Walker. So I mean, this team almost like we're looking at a mirror image of ourselves. Like, no disrespect to our running backs, right? Like, I think our running backs are good, and I think they're solid, but it's not Josh Davis and it's not Alonzo Gilliam. Like, you look at these guys, they're not Alonzo Gilliam and they're not Josh Davis, but they're good. And that's where I'm worried. We have Cottrell Haywood and we have Hayden Hatton looking pretty good right now. But, well, in the spring right now maybe. But, like, when the fall rolls around with Hendricks Johnson, Sammy Akem, and guys like that, it'll be different. But then you got the Eastern dudes. So I just, like, they're there. It's almost like we're looking at a mirror image of our offense. We'll see, though. But, yeah, I think you can't roll over on these guys.
No, and also they do have a strength on weakness matchup for us defensively. Now, again, we're gonna have to throw this asterisk out 1,000 times because they haven't played the UC Davis, Weber State, us, Eastern. They're giving up 2.6 yards per rush right now, which is best in the league. And even if you're playing a garbage schedule, 2.6 yards a rush is incredible.
Yeah.
Pass defense, they're middle of the pack-ish, which, I mean, that's closer to a weakness on potential strengths for us because, I mean, we've certainly had more success moving the ball through the air than on the ground. Dallas talked about there's just some weird matchups that, in my mind, point to a close game, and that's the 2 ones he talked about, 2 ones I'm gonna hammer home again. Justin Miller, 72% completion percentage in 3 games. That is damn good, especially out of first-year guy. That's going to be a challenge for our secondary. And we saw how our secondary struggled partially with COVID stuff against UC Davis. So real question mark on what level of strength we're going to have our secondary to bring out against a guy like Justin Miller.
Yeah, and it's weird because we're kind of getting a litmus test of our secondary, right? Because you look, Hunter Rodriguez is proving to be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Sky this spring. And we went up against Eric Berrier, who had his worst game against us, and he still had a good game against us. Like, since playing Idaho, I mean, he single-handedly beat Idaho State. Nobody should argue that point. So it's also like, how's our secondary going to do against a quarterback we're unsure of? But yeah, and I think the interesting thing for me, what I think we need to be worried about is listening to Paul Petrino on KTIK yesterday. They did not start actual 11-on-11 practices till Saturday or Sunday, I believe he said. So the rust versus rest argument, we only got to play 2 games, really. And we already touched on how the second game, we didn't really have everybody either. So, like, Southern Utah's been rolling now. They got 3 games in and a bye week to actually be rested, but they could fully practice. Like, is that something that's going to get us, And I think that kind of leads into our next little thing. Like, it bit us. Should Vandals temper their expectations due to the lingering impacts of the Big C?
I say absolutely. Now, you shouldn't temper expectations about the end result because we're not playing Weber State or Eastern Washington coming off this. I mean, so we still have to be aware that Southern Utah is stronger than we probably thought they were. But they're also clearly not a league power, or they would be 3-0, Chris, and it wouldn't be a 3-0 just by a couple plays going right. If they were top of the league, they would have convincing wins against Idaho State and NAU. But yeah, I'm going to temper expectations, as in I think Idaho needs to win, and we still need to expect Idaho should win. Because if we're in that second tier of the conference, we have to beat solid-looking teams too. but I don't think this is anywhere near the blowout that we would have thought earlier in the year when in our preview we were effortlessly writing off SUU as DeMario Warren dog shit. They haven't won anything for 3 years, whatever. It's almost all of our games are playoff games if we want to make the playoffs at this point. And this one to me is going to be much closer than I would have thought after that Eastern game.
Yeah. Boatman?
Yeah, again, like Paul said, they didn't start practice till Saturday or Sunday. If that's the case, that's more practices for this game than they normally get during a normal week. Okay, so normally a normal week is Sunday is older guys do probably t-shirt, shorts, watch film, do a little light running and stretching, young guys scrimmage, right? Monday off, watch film. Tuesday, Wednesday, full practice. Thursday, half pads, shorter half practice. If they started practicing Saturday or Sunday, I know Paul, that first day was probably back in full gear, and it was probably treated like he likes to call them extra Tuesdays. So that's one more day of full preparation they got for this game. And kind of, I broke it down earlier. I do think it's either is a rest versus rust argument, but I think this actually could have helped us because we were making mistakes, and I think this allowed the coaches to go back through, watch a lot of film, and see what those mistakes were, do a little self-scout, while at the same time, extra time to prepare. The Southern Utah team could cause us some problems. I think they've been better than they expect, or than everyone else expected, except their coaches, because that seemed to be what their coaches were spouting off preseason, right? From what we had heard. So, again, it's the spread's 11. I'm going to tell you right now, the spread's 11. That's a lot of points. I don't know if I like that many points. So do I think – I'm not going to make my full prediction yet, but that's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah. We had Chris Kwasinski on Big Sky Big Takes, Chris, Southern Utah beat reporter, and he told me when I was talking to him off the camera for scheduling, Southern Utah's coaches expected they'd be 500-ish this year, which I know I laughed at when I heard that, but – I mean, like Alex said, what we've seen on the field, they're not wrong at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, had they been 3-0, they're obviously going to lose to us, right? So if they lose the last two games, they're 500. But instead, they've got to win 2 of the last 3. But Dallas, what's kind of your thoughts on lingering or lowering expectations?
It's tough. As Boatman was saying, the rest versus rust thing. There were so many guys out the UC Davis game. I don't know if that would have made a difference. I think UC Davis is still a better team than Idaho. I think they still would have ended up winning, but I don't know. It depends on what expectations you're coming in with. With what we've seen of SUU, I'm expecting this to be a close game, and I would expect that if this was the game following UC Davis or even following Eastern, just from what we know of this team now. I would temper expectations in the fact that I would say Idaho's not going to blow this team out. I think, again, Boatman alluded to an 11-point spread. That's a lot of points. I don't think it's going to be that. I wouldn't say, well, COVID just ran through the team. Idaho's going to lose because they're going to all be recovering from COVID. I don't think that's realistic to think, but I also don't think it's realistic to say they'll be fine. They're going to blow the doors off of every bad team in the conference.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just got to temper expectation for this game, not the season. At the end of the day, we expected to win this game. So whether it's one of those things, like for people that have been watching me do the FCS overtime segment where I recap the top 25, I just say you can only beat who they put in front of you. That's it. Like whether this is a 1 point, we beat Southern Utah on a walk-off field goal. Like at this point, I don't care. I'm okay at any level just getting out of this game with a win. And that's where my expectation is. I don't expect it to be pretty. I don't expect everything to be clicking. I expect the offense to look probably the worst it's looked all season. But we should still win it. I'm not expecting a blowout. But
that's interesting.
Let's get into the
well, Chris, we got to follow up. We have to ask on that, man. If Idaho's offense looks the worst it has, I mean, we're only averaging 22.5 points per game.
I got my prediction ready. Don't worry.
I mean, I know you'll get the prediction, but if this is our worst offensive outing, you're talking scoring less than 20. How the heck do we win that?
Great defense. I mean, look what we did to Eric Berrier, and look what we did to UC Davis, who just put up 73 points. I mean, it's
Chris
Poly,
predicting
but
another. Where's Chris going with this? Huh.
I mean, because what did we hold Davis to again? What was that score? It's feels like a month ago.
They scored 27, but they also only punted twice.
Okay, and then Weber held them to 13. So I was trying to do the math on our defense versus Weber's, but Weber still got the edge there. Either way, I'll get to it. It's going to be an ugly scoreline, but let's have a little fun or sadness. What should a win over SUU mean for Idaho?
A win over SUU means, look, we've one of our themes on the show, Chris, one of the themes of this team this year is, are we turning the corner, or which corners are we turning? And a win over SUU to me is a version of Idaho establishing itself as we are clearly above a certain class in the conference, and what I would call the top half of the conference. I really think right now the cutoff line is Southern Utah. If you beat Southern Utah, you are probably a pretty good team. I'm writing off Northern Arizona because the first week was weird, but with what we've seen out of 3 weeks from Southern Utah, they're a solid team. If you're a team like Idaho that thinks you are fringe playoff, you have to win a game like this. But if we do, then I think that's us essentially having our footprint there. We have wins against 2 solid teams this year. There's almost no way for Idaho to not be called a pretty good team if we pull off win against Southern Utah. And that's not something we've been able to say in our first 2 years in the Big Sky.
Yeah. Bowman?
Yeah, a win against Southern Utah would say we're back on track. It's right, we're back on the path of what we need to do the rest of the year if we want to have a shot at making the playoffs, right? It should mean that like Brian said, this team has separated itself from a certain class of the Big Sky, and I think our other 2 games against other 2 teams that we hold in lower regard will also kind of show that, right? So even if we finish 4-2, but we take care of Southern Utah, we take care of Idaho State, we take care of NAU, that should kind of show you where this Idaho team kind of falls in the hierarchy of the Big Sky. We win this game. If we win this game and we win it handily, then I think we are on the right path to try to make the playoffs. If it's a close one, then I think we should be asking some more questions.
Yeah, Dallas.
Yeah, same thing. If Idaho beats SUU, it's validation that this team is the team we think it is. That it's in that second tier of, it's not Weber, but it's in that UC Davis Eastern Idaho grouping we've all kind of created. That's the second tier of teams competing for a playoff spot. I'd argue that SUU is the best of the bad teams. If Idaho goes out there and beats SUU, it reasons to believe that Idaho is better than probably 4 other teams in this conference. Puts things on a good trajectory. Mm-hmm. This hasn't been a very good team in conference the last few years. A win here, like Boatman was saying, looks at 4-2 is probably a realistic floor. That's progress. That's good. That's a great step forward into the fall. That's what a win over this team would mean.
Yeah, my take on this is escape. That's what this means. I'm very concerned about the whole rest factor, just because we, like I said, the UC Davis game, we were still shaking off rust and didn't have everybody available, and then we haven't been able to really practice. And you can get a little done in the classroom, but I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to be playing football. So I think it's worrisome. I don't want to foreshadow too much to next week, but I do find it kind of funny that, like, we're talking about how Southern Utah is probably the best of the worst. Be at the power rankings right now, have them as the 7th team, and Idaho State is the 6th. So that'll be fun next week. But the other thing with this is, not only are you escaping, but it doesn't get easier. Like, yeah, Southern Utah is easy. The way that we had to postpone, we are on the road to finish. So it's 3 straight road games. Talk about every game's a playoff. This is your last one at home. Like, we kind of joked, it's senior night. Like, Holy smokes. This is it. We are at Pocatello, at Cheney, at Flagstaff. Like, this team needs to get rolling. If anything, this game, it's going to be very important to make sure the rust is shaken off by the end of this, because I'm not sure if we go to Pokey, I don't know how we'll do if we still rust. If we go to Eastern with rust, we're done. Like, it could get ugly. But what would a loss to SUU mean for Idaho? This is where it could get dark, Brian.
I mean, when you've played 2 close games like we have, it's really hard sometimes to disaggregate how much of those games were close because there were some bad bounces against Idaho, but we still did okay, or how much of it was, it took some good bounces for Idaho to be close in both those games. I think a loss will, man, a loss puts this team is a lot closer to both 2-0 or 0-2 than I feel comfortable with at this point. So a loss to me would say, hey, this, even though we had optimism, this is the same Idaho team that last year lost to Northern Colorado and got shut out at Portland State. Now, I mean, I still think we're better overall, but we're talking about if this program is going to take a step forward, there's some developmental things that have to take place, meaning some trends that we've seen over 2 years that we have to leave behind. And losing to teams that are okay, but that are probably less talented than us is a pattern Idaho's got to get out of. So if we lose this game, I guess it makes it harder to read our first 2 games as bad luck against us, but we still looked okay. It makes it much easier to say, holy good Lord, if Eastern Washington's receivers had a clue how to catch a goddamn ball, we're 0-3.
Yeah.
Bowman?
Yeah, a loss to Southern Utah, it'd be devastating. I mean, just flat out. I don't know how else you'd put it. It kind of completely flipped the season up on its head for us. It would be pretty much, let's take the Illinois State treatment, pack it in, call the year to COVID. We'll see you in the fall. But I mean, if we do lose to Southern Utah, I know the coaches they will probably understand that it's no playoffs. And maybe you have to kind of look at a glass half full kind of thing. Okay, let's start seeing some young guys. Let's get some guys some reps. Those freshman offensive linemen that were forced to start due to COVID against UC Davis. Let's see some more of them. Let's see some more CJ Jordan. Who do we got? Who came in? Let's start getting guys reps, because I think at that point that's how you'd have to treat it, right? That's why I'm gonna look at a glass half full scenario.
Dallas?
Oh boy, I'm going to be the one who goes real dark and negative here, aren't I? I think a loss to SUU means pack it in for the entire Paul Petrino regime. A loss to SUU here means we're in year 3 of the Big Sky, going to be going into year 4 here in 6 months, and we are barely even a mediocre team in this conference. When we all thought moving down from FBS to FCS, we were at least going to contend for championships. If we lose to SUU this week, I think there's 2.5 seasons of proof that this shit ain't working.
I mean, I respect the take, respect the fire. I absolutely don't think – I'm not sure any coach is getting fired from the spring season, but I think Paul lost over SUU coming off COVID. I don't see that now. And I think it tees him up for the argument of the rest of the year, whatever happens, saying, I started McCormick and, the younger dudes and kept the starters healthy as possible. But, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think as a fan base, it should make us at least
I'm not saying he's going to get fired.
Seat. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you think
he's not going to get fired. I'm just saying the fan base should expect this is it.
The seat cooled off a little bit over the summer. And there should be some Tindling getting put back under that seat, getting ready to be led at least. I think a loss to Southern Utah it shouldn't be surprising, unfortunately. I'm very worried about this game. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. At the end of the day, if we do lose, congratulations. Southern Utah is 8 seconds away from being 4-0. But if it does, I mean, for Idaho, I think it's you do start playing the young guys. I think you keep Beaudry in because Beaudry, I mean, there is draft stock for him in the CFL. I think he would obviously prefer to come back. That's not going anywhere. It can only get higher. So I think he would want to come back in the fall anyways. But I'm sure Petrino's had that conversation with him. And if not, then you put in CJ Jordan and Nikhil Nair, whoever the next dude's going to be. But I think the rest, the receivers, the line, you keep Cottrell healthy. At this point, you give Hayden very limited reps so he can keep growing but not get hurt. And I do think you kind of you don't toss in the season. I think we could probably still be NAU with a couple of our backups in. Eastern, no. And I don't think it's worth rolling out our starters against Eastern. Like, let that one be what it be at that point. But, yeah, I think it would be dark. But I also, I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't even want to think about it. So let's get into predictions, though. Mr. Marceau, what do you got for the Idaho Vandals or the T-Birds?
Oh man, it's gonna be close. I don't feel comfortable picking Idaho to score over 30 because honestly, since we've been in the Big Sky, we've only done that like twice. So I'm going to say close game. Idaho holds on 27-24. I think we will see a positive thing for Idaho is I think we're finally not playing like one of the three best teams in the league. There's some margin for error. We're going to be able to experience this game that we didn't get to the first couple. We're going to use every bit of it to hold on to a 3-point win.
Boatman?
31-21 Idaho. I think our offense is – Chris, you said this. You think this is going to be the worst week for our offense? I'm going – this is going to be the best week we've seen from our offense so far.
I am going to go 20 – I will go 20-12. No, I'll take the 11. I'll take the push. I'll go 21-10. How's that?
Okay.
No, I like my 20. I don't think we're scoring 21. So I'm going 29. 20-9. Dallas.
28-27 Idaho.
Okay. Perfect. Sorry, what was it, Dallas?
28-27. I think this game's going to be very, 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 very close.
Are you calling a nice walk-off field goal for us too, or do you think they blow it at the end, Southern Utah? Or are you not willing to give that kind of prediction? I want to know how it happens.
What I'm terribly afraid of is it's 28-21. SUU's got a final possession. They go down, score it. They just, in my dream, they go for 2 and they don't get it, and it's 28-27.
All right. Well,
so
that was
You're not going to go with the patented Vandal. We're up 28 to 10 at halftime, and then we are just clinching for the final 5 minutes.
I mean, I didn't say I wasn't going with that.
Well, that is Around the Bar, brought to you by Hughes River Expeditions. If you are looking for a great all-inclusive week-long vacation, don't look past your backyard. Venture into the largest protected wilderness in the continental United States, located right here in the great state of Idaho. Enjoy a multi-day trip down the Middle Fork of the Salmon, the main Salmon River of No Return, the Salmon River Canyons, or the Selway, and you can even check out special trips like the one to see the Perside Meteor Shower, camp on pristine beaches, run amazing whitewater, hike scenic trails, spot wildlife, soak in beautiful natural hot springs, take in river all along the river's edge. Oh, and you can fish some of the most remote stretches of river in the entire freaking country. You just bring your clothes and let HRE handle the rest. Hughes River Expedition has been Vandal owned and operated since 1976 and ready to take you on the vacation of a lifetime. What are you waiting for? Find out what it's like to grab a paddle, catch dinner, and ride the bull all throughout the Gem State. Call them now at 800-262-1882 or check them out at hughesriver.com. Like the little jingle I gave on the end of that.
I like that.
We'll see if they like it.
HughesRiver.com.
Written by mine.
I'll be stuck in someone's head tonight.
Probably mine.
Just laying in bed. HughesRiver.com. All right. They got their money's worth out of that one. Watching the TV. Last week, oh, man. we had so many games to pick from, and I'm so proud of all of us going 1-0, picking UC Davis over Cal Poly. I believe the person that I thought was going to be the closest was Boatman on like flirting with the spread, and it was like what 12, and they won by like
it was
40, a lot.
I mean, it was a barn burner, all right, to say the least.
So obviously, with 1-0, all we've done is tick up one win, and the standings haven't changed a single bit. So Dallas is 9-1. I am 8-2. Brian is 7-3. Boatman is 6-4, but he is picking against the spread, so he gets a little. Not an asterisk. You get an exclamation point.
But don't forget, Chris. So I have Southern Utah plus 11 this weekend against the Vandals.
Okay, that's your actual prediction for this.
Yes, give me the Thunderbirds plus 11. I hope I am wrong. The total is set at 47. Do with that as you will.
Technically, I'm taking the push, but all right. So we will go into this, and I did the math in my head how we were picking, and it makes no sense for Dallas to pick first because then we can all pick against them to try to catch up. So if you're in the lead, you get to pick last, and if you're in last, you get to pick first. Boatman?
Which game am I picking here? I'm looking at ATS.
Oh, yeah, sorry. This is fun part for these games. These games are literally all what we would call the top 4 teams, or at least the consistent top 4 we've had in the power rankings versus the bottom 4. First time all 8 teams are playing, and ironically, you have the top 8 versus the bottom 8, almost in notch order of where those teams rank, which is hilarious. But we'll start with our pesky neighbors down in Polka Yellow. Idaho State going down to Davis, California.
So Idaho State, 13.5-point underdogs this weekend. I like that 13.5 for UC Davis to cover. It gets to 14.5. Let me maybe catch the Bengals with that 13.5. I do like the Aggies. The total is set at 64, but I'm going UC Davis minus 13.5.
Brian?
You have to go with UC Davis in this game. The intrigue to me is this is kind of a similar version of what we're seeing in Idaho, Southern Utah, of a lot of how we're kind of coloring Idaho State is because of how well they hung with Eastern. I think this will let us know, like, hey, did Idaho State just get Eastern's worst shot and they still couldn't win? Or is Idaho State actually okay?
I do think Davis needs to be careful. They should be thinking almost similar to how we're thinking about Southern Utah. But I am taking the Aggies.
Wait a minute. Let Dallas pick. I have a question before we go to the next game. Sorry.
Okay, I was going to say, and Dallas, are you just going to shock the world and show us that you really know what's up and you're going to take the Bengals for the win?
No, I'm taking UC Davis here. I do think it'll be somewhat close. I think this is the same as SUU Idaho. It's that gotcha game that Davis has to be aware of, but you got to go with the Aggies.
It's kind of gotcha weekend.
Yeah. So literally what I was looking at, this is trap game written all over it for UC Davis. They host Eastern next week. Kind of if you guys listen to Pardon My Take, it's a loser leaves town game. It's pretty much the loser of that game is knocked out of playoff contention, probably, right? But Idaho State has the Vandals next weekend. It's their biggest game of the year, even though they get it for Eastern, right? They get it for Idaho more than anything else. So I just wanted to preface that with your betting information.
So isn't it interesting?
13.5.
I just coined this, but gotcha weekend. I mean, other than Weber and AU, Idaho State very well could push Davis. Bo Baldwin homecoming game for Eastern, and then us playing the past 8 seconds away from being 3-0 Southern Utah Thunderbirds. What a frisky, surging weekend this is going to be.
Yeah, this is a frisky weekend. It's really weird.
A frisky weekend. Next up, I kind of just touched on it. NAU versus Weber. This should be quick. Boatman.
Yeah, Weber State minus 22.5. Give me all 22 of those.
The offense comes out to play down in Ogden this weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
Mr. Marceau.
I don't even know what would make this game interesting. Weber State's gonna walk all over Northern Arizona.
Gambling will make this interesting, Brian.
Let me rephrase that. Yeah, well, of course. Dude, if you've got a few bucks you can lose, obviously that'll make something interesting. But Northern Arizona, I mean,
They might not score this weekend. They might not. Like
right.
they might.
I
Damn, you took my take.
their two quarterback system. They are the definition of if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Yeah, they might not score.
Yeah, I'm going Weber, and well, now I can't say it because Boatman took it. So I'll say Weber's over, second team defense in, clock's ticking down. NAU drives down and kicks a field goal just to make sure they don't have zeros on the board.
The total is 53, Chris.
Over and Weber.
Oh, I'm thinking under and Weber. You see, the NAU might not score a touchdown all game.
I'm thinking Weber could put 60 up.
Oh, man. Sorry, Dallas.
Dallas.
No, you're good, man. Weber. It's definitely Weber. This stinks like a game where Weber's going to have their second team in the entire second half. NAU is going to play that Widener kid and try to see if he's got anything. Maybe he'll lead a scoring drive at the end of the game as their morale points, but Weber's going to absolutely destroy NAU this weekend.
Why do I feel like we're going to have no movement? We're all super boring. Boatman, Cal Poly at Eastern. I guess he's picking spread, so.
Yeah, I am. So out of 4 games, right, the spreads are at least 11 for every game. However, we all know that these games can finish weirdly closer for like 2 or 3 of these games than it says. Let me find that one again. I think Eastern was a 24-point favorite this weekend against Cal Poly.
Ooh, I like that spread.
I'm laying chalk, Chris. I'm laying chalk. I mean, I think it could be weird for the last time this Eastern team puts up points, as we know, and we know this Cal Poly team gives up points, right?
They give away points.
Like a team who scored 13 points the previous week, granted, it's against the top 5 defense in the nation, scored 73 the next week, right? So Eastern might put 80 on them. So I think it's just it's going to be points by it's just going to be a spread by just enumeration because there's going to be so many damn points on the board. I don't know how Cal Poly puts up more than 20 themselves.
Brian?
I need to figure out how to word this because it's cross sports reference. We all know that basketball scores are supposed to be higher than football scores.
Just one might not be.
We all know Idaho's men's basketball team had the worst scoring offense in the league last season. What do you think the gap is between Idaho's scoring offense and Cal Poly's scoring defense? Is it over or under 7 points, Alex?
Over.
You are correct. Just barely. Yeah, 53.5 points per game right now is what Cal Poly is allowing. Idaho scored 61 points per game. That's just the weird mix of how bad Cal Poly looks right now. So, yeah, Eastern's going to win, and Eastern might move that number against Cal Poly into less than 5 in the gap between Idaho men's points per game and Cal Poly's allowed points per game. But the intrigue, Hunter Rackett saw some snaps last week. Maybe you see some more for Cal Poly.
See, why I'm a terrible Vandal. Well, a great Vandal, but also a terrible Vandal. And why I do great on Big Sky, Big Takes and such things is I'm naturally an underdog. I hate rooting for favorites. I really, really want to take Poly here. But I cannot allow myself to do it. I'm taking Eastern. But I just want to say I got something that's telling me this one might be spooky. I'm not bold enough to take it. But if next week I go, but that's easy when you pick both sides of it. Then you can always claim you're right on one.
Hey, Chris,
Dallas? Yeah.
Is Poly giving up more or less than 600 yards a game?
More.
There's your answer, Chris.
I'm going like 603.
575.
Ooh.
Close. All right. So how much is Eric Berry going to put up on him this week? He might put up 700.
700.
This is going to be Idaho State, Idaho 2018 all over again. Okay.
I'm setting Jalen Hamlin. Let's see. But yeah, don't check me into the loony bin yet. I'm taking Eastern. Dallas?
I'm taking Eastern, but I do think it's going to be a little bit closer than you guys think it will be.
You got the
Aaron
spooky
Best
feeling
coached
too.
with Aaron Best coached with Bo Baldwin for 13 years and was his offensive coordinator for 9. So if anybody knows the Eastern offense, it's Bo Baldwin. I don't think he's got the talent to win this game. I don't think he's got the talent to keep this a single-digit game. But I do think he's familiar enough with the team that it's not going to be a 50-point blowout.
So just like a 28-point blowout.
Yeah, just like 3-4 touchdowns, and it's going to be like a, hey, we tried. Silver medals.
And something to keep in perspective. Never mind. I thought Idaho State we had ranked number 8 the week they took Eastern to the wall, and now Cal Poly is in that spot, but it was the week prior, and then they beat Southern Utah. I was about to say we had Idaho State last place, and then they snuck up on Eastern. But, yeah, this one, like I said, I'm with Dallas. It could get interesting, but, I mean, I still think there's no way Eastern loses this one. If they do, man, our strength of schedule's out the door. I mean, Southern Utah's our probably best team left on our schedule if they lose to Idaho or Cal Poly, maybe Idaho State. What is the FCS game you are watching this week? I'll start since I know sometimes that can be trickier for some people here. I am going with Incarnate Word versus Nichols.
Man.
You can still have that game.
Oh,
it is the. All right, well, I'll take. Well,
no, take that. You already started. Keep it moving.
I'm the Incarnate Word versus Nichols. Interesting game to tune in if you want. ESPN Plus. The winner of that game is most likely going to be one of those teams snatching up one of the Big Sky's at larges because the Southland looks to get 2 because Sam Houston is on fire. So winner of Nichols Incarnate Word probably going to the playoffs. Boatman.
Nichols is favored by 7, by the way. Okay. I think that's a little interesting. I guess, Chris took one of mine. There's not a lot of great FCS games this weekend, a lot of big spreads. It's really not I'm going to go over to the Colonial. We're going to go out to the state of New York, the capital. We're going to go Stony Brook Seawolves versus the Albany Great Danes. What a great bunch of mascots. Again, it's kind of one of those things that I'm still in the hunting mode of which teams could take a playoff spot. Albany's 1-2 isn't great. Stony Brook's 0-3. Man, actually, why did I pick this game? This game sucks. I don't know why. I'm gonna stop this right here. I'm gonna pivot, and I'm gonna go to William and Mary and James Madison. How good are the Dukes? We don't know. We've had COVID issues. They've had more COVID issues than us. I think Virginia has started to allow more fans in the stadium, so that changes their game this weekend. Can the William and Mary tribe? Can James Madison keep up the streak of not covering and winning a bunch of close games? And are they overrated?
They'll sneak out a 13-point victory over a team they should smoke by 40. But Brian, you got a game?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to continue my Big Sky supremacy approach, and I'm also going to mix it with just some of the way that covering our men's team perverted my understanding of sports. Cal Poly versus Eastern, and the ratio I'm watching. What is higher? Cal Poly's points or Eastern Washington's drops?
That was I was on Big Sky Big Takes last week, but I heard somebody go, Talo Limu Jones has all of these catches. I'm like, does he have more catches than drops, though? That's the stat I want to hear. Tell us, you got a game you're watching that's not the Vandals, or are you sticking to the Vandals? Ooh.
Delaware, Rhode Island for the lead in the north side of the CAA. That's probably the game of the week, honestly. Number 11 versus number 18. I know Incarnate Word Nichols is another top 20s matchup, but those are probably the 2 best games this week. As like Boatman said, a lot of this is trash.
And Delaware is favored by 9.5 on the road in Kingston, Rhode Island, home of the Rams.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know, 9.5's a lot, but as this Delaware team for real, I think maybe we find that out this weekend.
Yep. Well, Dallas, hammer down. Do you got to take, or should we roll into closing the bar?
Let's roll into closing the bar. I don't have a take. I dropped the hot take.
When you co-host, you don't really get to pent up all the stuff about these idiots. Yeah. All right. Well, closing the bar brought to you by nobody. Could be you. Let us know. We will be on it's the Alumni Association doing it, correct? The virtual Vandal pregame at about 11:15 Moscow Standard Time. So come check it out. I'll be the only one not in Moscow this weekend. So you guys have fun. Hopefully I'll have a new studio next week. So that's what I'll be doing. So I'll be watching the game because I'll be in Boise moving. But yeah, so make sure you guys check it out. I think all four of us are on it. Boatman, are you making it?
I don't know if I am. I'll be in and around Idaho. In Moscow. We'll see. If I have time.
Well, hopefully you guys can check it out. It's easy. We'll have a link down below in this. Also, if you're listening in our description there, we'll probably post it on Twitter a couple times. But yeah, come check it out. Hang out. It's the Alumni Association. Like, let's go. Nothing better than supporting your local school. And I don't know. I don't even know what to expect from us, so I don't know what to tell you about this. But it should be fun. Good people over there. They've been big supporters of ours for a while, so that's really awesome. So we figured it was kind of fun and kind of an honor to be invited. You guys already know how to find us. I'm just done telling people how to find us. We will be live about 30 minutes to an hour after the game with these three in Moscow. It could be closer to that hour mark, but we will see. So hope you guys can join us there. If you know any Southern Utah fans, give them a little poking fun. It's Thunder time. It's time for the best band in all the land. When was the last time we had a podcast under an hour that wasn't a reaction show? Like year one?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, let's break the streak, baby.
I'm too busy drafting the Steelers draft, so
best band in all the land. Send Idaho plays out. Go Vandals.
Go Vandals.